Ladies and gentlemen.
So we're starting over, huh?
We're starting
All
over.
right, start from the beginning of the pod.
Take two.
The beginning of the pod starts now.
Yeah.
Oh, wait. Here, we just do this.
Oh, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the Producer Lounge.
Let's go.
My name is Caleb's Manfield. This is David Talbot. And we have Kyle with us today, a legend in the scene. Makes bangers. Absolute legend. Absolute legend. This is the Producer Lounge podcast, brought to you by Always 400. I'm trying to do a Caleb impression of the intro. I don't remember what he says next, but we talk about music. We talk shop. We would have been doing it in the kitchen anyway. So we decided to do a podcast.
Exactly.
Yeah, share our knowledge, you know? And we're still learning. We're still on the road to discovery, figuring this shit out, you know? But I'm sure we'll have a gym or two to give you tonight.
We got some good shit to talk about today.
Yeah.
Yeah, always400.com. Check out the links. There's the Instagram and Discord, exclamation Discord in the chat if you would like to join our Discord. And, yeah. It's just a normal podcast opening. Nothing happened at all.
Yeah. Nothing happened for 20 minutes, though we're good.
You know.
We're just doing...
You're watching it on YouTube. You don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you want the good, then show up for the Twitch stream, and you might just see us train wreck.
See how smooth this operation is.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were saying it earlier with the...
scratch.
Yeah. We were saying it earlier with the doubling, but... Kyle just has like this weird vibe he brings apparently where he makes mixers explode.
Oh my god. Yeah. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
I think there's been like one time on this podcast where I've come and something didn't go
Something
wrong.
didn't happen.
No
Yeah. Yeah, what was
there was a couple.
There was definitely a third.
Oh really?
Yeah, I can't remember what it was, but something else.
So funny.
Yeah, I don't know.
That one was like less extreme, but like something just happened where like Caleb couldn't get like the cards to work or something, but I don't know.
You know, it happens when you have one person kind of controlling the main mothership. Mm-hmm. Then you get a couple other people in there, and we can't figure it out.
Yeah. Right. The Jamie left.
It happens.
We just had to.
It happens, but we got to keep the ship floating.
Yeah.
You know?
Yep.
Mm-hmm. We're on a trip. We're on a journey.
Caleb threw us some lifeboats, but we were still drowning a little bit. But we're above water now.
Well,
we made it.
Welcome to the show, Kyle. One of our favorites.
Yeah.
You guys are my favorites.
I mean, hands down.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
What have you been up to?
Yeah,
Any,
what have I been up
fun
to?
new tricks?
Yeah.
For either of you?
Man, yeah, I've been in like mixing hell for like a month and a half right now, working on a couple tracks. Mixing and mastering hell. But it hasn't been that. I've been learning stuff. It's been good.
Nice.
One thing that we talked briefly a little bit about earlier, but I have discovered the magic of putting clipping, specifically multiband clipping, on your master when you're mastering tracks. So like I got a drum and bass track that I'm working on, and I was really trying to push the loud, because drum and bass tracks are loud as hell. There's like, I was looking at a Teddy Killers track that came out recently. It was like the drop sections were at like 1.5 to 2.5 LUFS. Like
what?
Yeah, it's crazy loud.
Oh my god.
So ridiculous.
Yeah, right? It still sounds good, which I think is impressive, but also it's like, come on, guys.
Yeah.
What are we doing here?
We're not stopping until we get to 0. Is that how it's happening?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can actually go positive.
We want to go positive.
Oh,
we
really?
We figured out on the podcast one time, yeah.
It's
so
possible.
Wow.
20 years from now.
Good still?
Oh, no, it was horrible.
Okay.
Some kid out there who's like 12 learning to produce now, though, is going to get it to like positive 5 and sound clean, though.
Totally, right.
It's the future.
Yeah.
It's going to be some meticulous work right there.
Oh, my God, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You got to have a lot of things. Basically, if you want to have something like hitting like high LUFS like that, or low or whatever, I don't know how it works. High, low. If you want it to be loud as shit, you need to have like all the frequencies happening all at the same time at like full volume.
Yeah,
basically.
totally.
As many frequencies as possible hitting
Yeah.
0
And I
on
think
the
certain-
limiter.
The way, I don't know exactly how it's calculated. I think the way that LUFS work is that like certain frequencies basically matter more than others.
Yeah, I've heard it's like higher range stuff too. Weirdly,
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm curious to read more about that, but
Yeah, I have
yeah,
no
because I
idea
know
how they're-
RMS is just like it doesn't take that into effect.
blanket loudness.
Yeah. But LUFS it's a little more complex.
Right. Then
But-
there's also like the short-term LUFs where it's just like your sound was super loud here, but then there's like the overtime kind of LUFs where the average or whatever, which I guess is what we're all focusing on. It is the average. We're trying to get
Yeah.
consistent.
I usually look at short.
You look
Yeah.
at both.
No,
So wait,
I just
so
look at short.
Just
like
short.
the the short term.
Mhm.
There's like the integrated, which is like the full
Yeah,
thing.
Integrated.
I don't care.
And I never look
Yeah.
at that either. I look at the short term too.
Really
Yeah.
interesting. Okay,
Yeah.
I always thought the long term or
I'm-
what integrated was more important. But where do you guys do short term?
I like to do short term because I like to do it by song section basically. And so I'll look at my drop section and I want to be like, okay, this should be the loudest, most intense part.
Right.
And so
okay.
I only look at the short term for that section and then I'll look at the short term separately for the breakdowns or whatever. Because I want the dynamics of that to be different from the drops.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I'll do the integration in my own head. That's kind of how I look at it.
yeah.
Like, okay, the drop is hitting at -8 to -6.
Yeah.
You know, like a big bass sound hits with like some loud high end thing at the same time. All of a sudden it goes up, goes down to like -6 or -5 or
Yeah.
whatever. And I'm like, okay, that's kind of like the loud point.
Mhm.
And that's what I assume is like, this is kind of where I'm hitting at. And, you know, any kind of dynamic scenario after that might make it a little less loud. But in
Right.
the loud portions of the loud section, I want it to be
Yeah.
smashing pretty good. Although
or-
I'm just looking for like -8 usually.
Yeah.
Maybe -6.
I think looking at integrated is actually useful if you want to mix and master specifically for streaming services. Because then I imagine, because I think the way Spotify and all that stuff works is they just they look at the integrated loudness and then they just bring it all down to like -14 or something. And so you kind of want, and that if you want your tracks to be louder, because everyone thinks louder is better, everyone perceives it that way. And us professionals included. You want like your drop sections to be like as loud as possible and then your other parts to be like as quiet as possible, I imagine. So then your overall average still isn't super loud, even though you have these sections that are super loud. So then
yeah.
I imagine that might be
Yeah.
the technique. I've never tried it. I don't master
It's
for
interesting.
streaming.
I think it doesn't matter. I think you
Yeah.
should make it as loud as you want to make it.
You have to mix for the Spotify LUFS analyzer, dude.
Fuck the Spotify, like fuck the YouTube algorithm. All they do is turn it down. It's
Yeah.
not like so. The argument that was traditionally made around this idea is like a radio station. If a song was too loud, it would get limited. So it would actually affect the way the song sounds. And that's why people said like radio loudness back in the day.
Yeah.
But because they were getting an extra limit from the radio station. And each radio station would have their own like limiting like chain to make that happen. Whereas now with like a Spotify, if you mix your shit to -4 LUFS, and all those drum and bass tracks you're listening to are mixed to that or whatever, they just get turned down. It's just a volume down. And
Right.
personally, I turned the volume thing off on Spotify.
Oh, I didn't know you could do that.
Yeah, you go to settings, turn off auto level,
Oh, wow.
and then it's a great time because then when
'cause
you're
everything's
on
probably
random,
super
all of a
different.
sudden you're like, wow, this song is so much louder than the last song,
Oh, I need
and
to
I'm
try
always
that out.
like, yes.
Yeah.
This one knows. we had that the other day. I was showing you guys a
Oizo.
Mr. Oizo tune, and then it was what was that guy's name? He's gonna be here soon. Bugatti. What was that?
Oh,
Guy? Tiga. So
Okay,
it's
yeah.
Tiga Bugatti.
yeah.
And then I played that song, which is a sick ass song. And then I played the remix by Boys Noise. And it was like, the Boys Noise one was so much louder. It like came on,
Yeah.
it was like, whoa, okay, Boys Noise.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
The guy knows how to make them loud, I guess. Even in 2014.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Right.
It's pushing it.
Man.
But like, I don't think it matters a whole. Like the other argument for what you were saying is, if the integrated loudness is showing at, let's say, -8, and it wants to auto level it to -14. And then another tune's loudness is integrated at -14, then your song is going to be quieter when it gets turned down to -14. And then, so then the one that is at -14 is going to be more dynamic and therefore be kind of sounding louder, which I think does make sense. I don't even know if I'm explaining it very well.
It does make sense because certain parts
Yeah.
of the song are actually louder than any parts of the
Right.
song that's a higher lufs or
Right.
lower, whatever.
Yeah. Yeah,
Louder
exactly.
lufs.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So in that case, like now we're limiting things different for Spotify, which is interesting. You got to
Right.
like do a separate master specifically for Spotify where you don't smash all your shit as hard.
Do you actually do that?
No.
No, I don't do it either.
Fuck no.
Yeah.
Nah.
I just mix for
I don't
live
even
settings.
put my
and
shit on
that's it.
Spotify, really.
Yeah.
Yeah. But,
No one's listening to that shit unless you're on a fucking label.
right.
Or you're shooting at the playlists or whatever.
Yeah.
Try and get them to play your stuff.
Totally.
I'm bitter.
Yeah, honestly, as far as like getting found on Spotify
Not better.
or whatever, it's like basically impossible. You have to be like a huge top tier
Totally.
artist with a following, or you release on a record label.
yeah.
Yeah. Which
Yeah.
is one thing that I do like about like SoundCloud and even like TikTok is like
Yeah.
they make smaller artists pop off. And
Yeah.
There's
pop
an
off
algorithm.
to the sky. It's
Yeah.
insane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it can be hard. You definitely need somewhere else to be drawing the listeners.
Mm-hmm.
It would be interesting if Spotify did that, like where they were just like, we're gonna really like push all the random music, but I'm sure
Yeah.
the majority of it's so
Yeah, there's
bad.
probably so much.
They've probably thought
really-
about that.
How
Yeah.
hard would it be to find the good ones in
Yeah.
the sea of dog shit that is on
Right.
Spotify?
Well, man,
You know?
I love SoundCloud. I feel like people shit on SoundCloud all the time. I still love SoundCloud because you follow
Yeah.
people and you get the stream, and it's like
Right.
it's great. You follow people who you like their music tastes, and so even if they're sharing stuff that's not their music, chances are you're gonna dig it because they like it. And it's like, it's great. I found so many awesome songs that I had no idea who the artists were from SoundCloud, just from following
Okay.
people and looking at my feed there. It's awesome.
That's interesting. That's
Yeah.
one thing I never do either because
I
I
haven't
listen
done it
to
much either.
right.
Mm.
I listen
Yeah.
to most of my music on Spotify or just like recommendations from the homies, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, SoundCloud is probably great for that. Maybe I should do
Totally.
that more and check that out.
Yeah. And like go find an artist that you like and then you can look at their profile and look at the songs that they've liked.
Oh,
and
that's
there's-
the move.
Yeah, there's
That
so
is the
many
move.
great songs.
Yeah.
Like I was doing that with Copycat's profile like a year ago, and
Okay.
there's so much awesome stuff that he was liking in there. And man, like it's great to
That's
just
cool.
find new stuff from people who have good tastes. Subjective, you like their taste, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I've been thinking about Spotify a little bit recently because we released our Party B mix on Audius, just specifically to be annoying to everybody. But
some people.
I'm
You're not the
I'm-
only ones.
right, exactly. Like we know that we're in it for the long game anyway, so we don't really care a whole lot. We're not trying to drum up a bunch of traffic. Like I share the thing on my Instagram. Like, there's no one there. I got 500 followers on Instagram. It's not that much.
Yeah.
But I have been thinking about throwing shit up on Spotify or SoundCloud. I mean, because there is just more people there.
Yeah.
It does make a good amount of sense to do shit on Spotify or SoundCloud.
SoundCloud. At least SoundCloud.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you're going to do it.
I think promoters and shit will like it better if they see a Spotify or a SoundCloud link. I cannot. I cannot get SoundCloud right. They had to choose a name that was close enough to SoundCloud. Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
But see, that is one thing about just getting attention to your Audius account now. This is just my belief, but I think Audius is going to be like one of the big three in, I don't know how much time, but in the future, I just imagine like that side being as big as SoundCloud and Spotify, It's possible. You never know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
I could also eat shit.
I could also just eat shit and die.
Yeah.
It's crypto just fucking goes completely down.
It's already
Right.
gone completely
I mean,
down.
yeah, crypto. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
it
all
at?
the rest of the crypto.
Yeah.
Dude, the crypto dip. Actually, I don't need to look at this right now, but
It's a crypto podcast.
Where
right?
is it at?
yeah, I'm so curious. I haven't checked in months.
Oh,
but
it's terrible.
is it? I'm sure.
Yeah. I think I looked in the last couple months. It was really, really bad.
Dude, I should have sold when we first found out.
You should have.
Yeah.
Rough.
Yeah.
At a certain
Yeah.
point, I had well, I guess it doesn't matter. I had a good amount of money, and then I was like, "No, I'm gonna ride it out and wait." And
Yeah.
it's only
Yeah.
just
It's just continuing.
Yeah.
Oh, it was at like $4 and now it's at like 30 cents or something.
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
yeah.
Yeah.
Ooh. I
I
mean, you
have
might
to-
as well ride it out at that point.
Yeah, at this point,
Well, yeah.
It either goes to
gone.
zero, and I'm like, okay, whatever. Money,
Yeah.
I didn't even put money into it. I got all the coin for free from like being
nice.
a
Early adopter.
early
Yeah.
adopter. Yeah, so I have no loss
Yeah.
from it.
I think we have one.
Yeah, you have one.
We've been awarded one Audius.
Yeah.
So they've given us 30 cents. So
Oh,
thanks, Audius.
Actually,
Killing it.
a cool thing Audius did start doing recently is people with audio coin that are like just the listeners can tip the artist
Oh.
with the coin.
Oh,
they
that's
can
kinda
literally.
cool.
That's
yeah.
how it should be.
Yeah.
That's how it fucking should be, right?
Right.
Right.
I got a tip the other day, and I was like, "Wait, what?" This dude just sent me
Yeah.
like one little coin, and I was like, "Whoa,
Yeah.
you fucking
That's
legend!"
awesome.
Yeah.
For
For no reason. I don't know how this
Yeah.
dude found me, but
That is really cool, man.
that's a sick
I feel
idea.
like-
yeah.
Yeah, I wish Spotify and SoundCloud and Apple Music and stuff started doing stuff like that because
It would make
man,
way
'cause they
more
pay
sense.
such shit to
Yeah.
artists. Like you
Yeah.
have to be making so many plays regularly to get even get a paycheck from them.
Yeah.
And so like, I mean, I guess they would rather the money just go to them because they're a big company. But
Sure.
that'd be really cool if you could just tip them directly through the platform.
Yeah.
But-
Or even like if I guess I don't know exactly how their payout system works, but I imagine they just take all the cumulative money and then send it out based on like streams every month or whatever. But if they took your like $12 subscription and only sent it to the artist you listen to that month, like that would help out every single artist. And the artists you listen to more get a little bit more instead of
Yeah.
just like that one extra stream that's worth like what is it,
Right.
0.003 cents?
Yeah,
Maybe they'd
yeah.
get 0.01.
Right.
A little bit more
Yeah.
because you like them a lot. Like
Totally, yeah. Yeah, I was hoping I was going to get a paycheck from Spotify because I did release on like a small label. And I was like, okay, maybe I'll actually see some money from this. And I did, but it was literally just from people who bought it on Bandcamp.
Right.
Still
really?
absolutely nothing from any streaming platform.
Really?
Yeah. And like, I
Damn.
mean, it's not like a huge release, but like it's still got like more plays than I've ever gotten for anything else.
Hell yeah, that's
So,
sick though.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's like you don't get. Yeah, I don't know. It's not a
Wild.
good deal.
Either that or
Yeah.
the label's pulling a fast one on you.
No,
Calling you out, label.
yeah. Nah, they're cool.
Yeah.
I'm
no.
sure, I'm
I
sure
mean,
they're cool, yeah.
Yeah.
Travis, who streams on Twitch right after us, usually. I don't know if he's doing it today or not, but he said that he makes far more money from Twitch than he makes from his like actual releases.
Wow.
He
see
releases
that.
on
I
labels
believe
all
that.
the time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
He
Yeah,
has
he
like
has
some
shit
pretty
tons of-
big
Yeah.
releases.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
he had a Anjuna had eyes on him and they did something with him. Not on their
Really?
main one, but on their like
Yeah,
whatever like
like
the
a
under
yeah.
whatever it is.
Anjuna
Yeah.
Rookies, whatever.
Something Anjuna Ams.
It's just
or
a
something.
completely different label that's underneath Anjuna.
Yeah.
It's like a feeder label.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
But
But yeah,
you got some plays from that for sure.
Yeah.
But like that's insane. Fucking Twitch. Good for him. Also, he's been consistent. He started that like around the same time we started the podcast or something, right? And he's just been going at it every week.
yeah.
I remember him
Fucking-
saying he likes doing that more than actual sets sometimes now because he
Really?
can just go for like 3 hours and he got used to doing that during COVID. And so then when he does a normal set at like a club or
Right.
something, he has to stay, like cut it down to an
Like,
hour.
oh, now
and
I
he's
only
like,
have an hour
I can't-
to play trance.
Yeah, it's like
It's like by the time I got you in a trance, I got to pass it off to the next guy who's going to give you a bunch of dog shit.
He played like
No, I'm sure
6
they're
songs.
yeah.
Right. It's trance. We got an hour, 6 songs,
Yeah.
10 minutes each. Let's go.
Yeah, for real.
Shout
I
out
like some
Travi.
trance though.
No, I think it's like more like
Yeah.
30. 6 an hour.
Not 30. No way.
Mhm.
2 minutes a song.
I think he said something like that to me the other day.
Man,
Really?
He's made some
Okay.
fast then. Jeez.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just cruising between them.
Yeah.
He's doing as
Yeah.
fast as or maybe not as fast. I don't remember. I think Virtual Riot said he'll go through 30, or no, maybe he said 60 in an hour
Damn.
or 30. I
minute.
can't remember.
I mean, if we're talking about dubstep,
yeah.
Well, yeah, they like double
Shit.
drop. And
Yeah, you're
stuff.
just
They'll
like-
double drop. They'll just
Yeah.
go
You're
build drop,
move,
build
move,
drop, build
move,
drop.
move.
Yeah, there's
move.
no breakdowns the whole set. It's
It-
just
it is an interesting argument to have. It's
Yeah.
like, do you go long or you go short?
yeah.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
I've been going to a lot of house shows recently, local people and whoever's playing after them. And I tend to feel like people go too long on their tunes. I just
Yeah.
am kind of like,
Really?
Yeah.
I could be good with the next song happening already by now.
Right.
Interesting.
And then I'm hearing another drop again that I just heard. And I'm like, I don't care.
Yeah.
You
Right.
know, I get that you just teased like the next one within the breakdown or something
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that's
Hinted
happening.
at it. Yeah.
But like, just move on. I kind of want the next one,
Yeah. No, I feel that. I totally agree.
especially in house music,
Yeah.
Yeah.
because it's just the same the whole
Yeah.
time.
All the songs are. There's much less variations on
Yeah.
the song.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, at least in like a drum and bass tune or something. Like the second drop's likely to fucking
Yeah.
destroy again in
Right.
a new way.
Yeah. You'll
You
have like
know?
a different drum pattern or
Yeah, they
different
get a little more fun with
phrasing
it.
or
I
something.
feel like.
Yeah.
I like Ganja
Yeah.
White Knight's view on this is that they'll do the quick change, like switch up kind of thing. But they also said like consistently in their sets, they'll take like a full minute and a half to just do an intro slowly, do the build slow, and they'll play songs specifically where they have like these really long, epic fucking intros that are building just to change the energy. You know, it's like the
Yeah.
palate cleanser kind of thing we always talk about.
Yeah.
And I think that is necessary, and I'm sure it's not overlooked. Like I've only been to like literally like one dubstep show and a handful of other bass shows and like house shows and whatever. You know, I don't know how people are actually doing it, but
Right.
it seems like people are just sending it so hard, so fast. Like they'll do.
Yeah.
I watch a lot of, or not a lot, but I've watched a few of the like Lost Lands live streams. And it seems like every dubstep guy, they'll have some like sick intro that's like, you know, takes a minute or 2 minutes or whatever to drag it out. And then it's just fucking railing you the entire time after that. So,
Yeah, like when the breakdown happens, they're starting the next tune like halfway through the build. They're like,
yeah.
and go.
Yeah.
You're like,
And the weirdest
"Okay,
part is
Jesus
like,
Christ."
the crowd loves it.
Yeah,
like
I mean, it
the
works.
crowd
That's what-
fucking yeah, they're going
Yeah.
every single song. Like everyone's headbanging as hard as they fucking can. But
Right.
maybe it's just like the artist in us and the producers in us that are just like
Yeah.
ear break, please.
Yeah.
like change it up a little, just a little bit.
Totally. Yeah, no, I love that when people control the energy more live.
Yeah.
And like they have the
Same.
really intense section and that for like 15 minutes, but then they kind of move on to something else. And then they move on to something else after that. Like I love those kinds of sets.
Yeah, the middle point's the spot. It's
For-
not fast, it's not slow. It's
Yeah.
sometimes fast, sometimes slow.
Yeah. Totally.
And you like understand like, okay, I have an hour to do this. I will start probably a little bit aggressive, and then have it like break for a second with a little bit of a kind of slower feed, and then bring it back again, and maybe give you another slower section, and then bring it back again, and then have it in a place where the next DJ can come in and not just like train wreck because you're playing an absolute banger right before they play.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or whatever,
Yeah.
you know?
Totally.
Like, you gotta be cognizant of that shit.
Yeah.
I like to take the same mentality that I have to writing a song as I do to making like a DJ set. So like when you're making a song, you're not just have the whole song be a drop.
Arrangement.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And so you have like your certain like phrase, the section for a measure, and then you switch up the next section a little bit to progress, and then you have the breakdown or whatever. And it's the same. I feel like the flow of energy applies exactly the same way with a live set.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree.
Dude, 100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
There is a time and place to like fucking send it, but at the same time, it's like we're so aware of the ear breaks just because, you know, we make the music and everything, but it's like a natural thing to be like, okay, let's just, yeah, Dave, you said one time, we were talking about like sub drops or something and breakdowns, and we were just talking about the sub drop is nice because like it pulls the frequency down and you get this huge thing for a sec, and then usually there's a break after, and then like all the air in the room settles. And I remember that was like a moment that clicked for me. Like, of course, like we all know that like sound needs air to travel, but I never like thought about it like being still after something. And it's like we need that moment of just like
Yeah. It's what we say all the time about the sub bass in everybody's tunes. There's no space
Yeah.
for it to go away for a second so it can come back.
Right.
Yeah.
And then it's just blah in the fucking club, and you're like,
Dude,
I don't even know what the groove is here.
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I don't know who said it or wrote it or whatever, but I saw one time that like the space between notes matters more than the notes themselves.
Oh,
And
Classic.
I think that's super. That's such a great way to put it. It's the same concept for energy or sub bass or whatever. It's like you need nothing to make something hit more.
Yeah.
Like it means more when you have that contrast.
Yeah.
Silence is a note.
Yeah, I mixed a tune for some homies the other day, and the sub, I just realized at one point, I was like, there's just no space between these sub notes. I now have to pull the midway points between each of these sub notes out. And then it was just 5-minute track and cut back down and cut back down. Next note, cut back down. Next note, cut back down. And it's house music, so it's just sub the whole time.
Nice.
Yeah,
It's just like, it took me like 45 minutes to do.
Yeah.
It's so tedious. I'm
Yeah.
fast, guys. It took me 45 minutes. It's going to take you 2 hours.
Yeah.
You know? Like I'm up in here.
Yeah.
And yeah, that shit's annoying. But
Right.
it bounced so much harder after.
Yeah.
It was like night and day.
Just that little bit too. You didn't even take like that much. You just took like enough to be like, here's a space and a breathing room.
No, yeah, it was like the waveform was like sub, and then a little bit of like the releaseness happening, which I'm assuming is like there was a very small amount of leftover release before the next note hit, and then it got limited or smashed, or in some way it got compressed or something, and then that just brings that up louder, and then all of a sudden it's destroying your what is it? What do you call that shit?
The transients?
Headroom.
Headroom. There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah.
It doesn't get a chance to go back down
Yeah.
when it should.
Right. I think that's a really common beginner
sub.
mistake. Speaking for myself, that's exactly how I
One
used
sec,
to
boys.
write music.
Same.
All right.
Trying to hold it.
Yeah, that's exactly how
Yeah.
I used to write music. I was like, man, I'm gonna give them all the bass all the time, and that's gonna make it more intense. And
Yeah, because that's what you like when you're at the club.
Yeah,
You're
exactly.
like, oh, look at when it fucking hits me in the
Right.
chest.
Yeah, and that is sick. And then when it's like 3-4 minutes straight of that, it doesn't hit the same way.
Yeah, like the classic dubstep producer who's
Yeah.
new. It's just through the whole drop.
Yeah.
It's just
Hey,
one.
that was me.
big
That was me.
sub-note.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I would
many of
change
my
the
friends
notes sometimes,
that
but
was
it was
that.
all continuous.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like, as little space between these big sub notes.
Yeah. Yeah, and it gets fatiguing, I think. But
Caleb says small bladder. Oh, okay. Awesome. Yeah, I got
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
I got it.
pee break. But
Okay, so
Yeah.
I derailed us on this limiting LUFs for SoundCloud because we were going to talk about clipping,
yeah.
right? We should talk about the clipping.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
we on the show, for all the people that actually listen to us, we talk about this all the time. And I want to hear it from your perspective.
Yeah. Yeah. It sounds, we talked about it a little bit earlier. It sounds like I have recently just discovered what you all have been like.
Caleb and I
Calling for.
specifically have been grinding on this.
Yeah.
And trying to hammer it into all of the listeners' ears.
Yeah. We'll
So-
hammer it in some more.
Yeah.
So yeah, like I've been working on mixing and mastering a couple songs recently, and I've been really trying to like challenge myself to try and get it as loud as I can to compare it to like real professional stuff. Like I'm comparing it
Yeah.
to like Noisia and like top tier stuff. But like still like trying to get it as close as I can to that loudness without it like degrading the sound quality.
Right.
And I was like kind of getting a little bit close, but like I couldn't quite get it right. And then I kind of, one thing that I had started doing a few months ago is starting to clip my drum bus, specifically, definitely the kick and snare, sometimes the whole bus. Clipping with like a soft clipper or a hard clipper plugin. I think there's confusion with clipping too, because some like the old school definition of clipping is when you're driving the track in your DAW or like the soundboard in the analog days too loud, and then you're getting the clipping from doing that. But then
Like through analog gear, you mean?
yeah.
So
and,
that's
like,
just saturation at that point. It is
Right.
clipping it.
yeah,
too.
it is. Yeah, like that. I'm pretty sure that's what clipping is originally. Like that's what
Right.
clipping was known
You're
to be.
clipping it can't go louder than this, so you just push it past that point and then
Yeah.
it just
And it just
distorts
cuts it
it.
off. Yeah,
it's distortion
yeah.
Yeah.
at that point.
Yeah, and then that's why there's like from the analog days, everyone would be like, "Oh, don't never push your channels into the red," which doesn't really
Right.
matter anymore in the digital.
The old
space.
-6 gain
Yeah.
staging situation that everybody hears when they're searching around on YouTube.
Yep.
Totally
The fucking confusing ass thing when you're on YouTube and you're trying to learn and you're like,
right.
what is this -6 bullshit?
Right.
Yeah.
I was so
And then,
confused about
what does
that
it
when I was
mean?
getting started, man.
There's always like
Yeah.
5 people too being like, this doesn't matter. 32
Dude.
Yeah.
floating point,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
Also that.
Yeah, man. I remember I
Also
used
that.
to in my like early days of just starting to producing. I would like I would frequent the R EDM production subreddit a lot, and this would happen like weekly on that subreddit, where someone would be talking about like you must have -6.
Just the nerd
And
battles.
there's like one like software developer as their day job commenting like, no, it's 32-bit floating point.
does
like
not
you
matter.
you can push it so far into the red and it's fine.
Yeah.
And then they'll just get like downvoted to
Yeah.
oblivion. And then the same thing happens the next week.
It just oscillates between that and sidechain.
Yeah,
It's just like-
right.
God.
Totally.
Why is
we're
that
gonna
still?
we're gonna do a sidechain episode one of these days.
Yeah.
We want to
yeah.
tackle it in a comprehensive fashion,
Yeah.
and we have not set it up yet.
Yeah.
But we're gonna teach you guys that shit, and you're gonna know because we know what
400
we're talking
scalper.
about when it
Yeah.
comes to sidechain.
Yep. We'll get there.
We have
Yeah.
we have done laps around the subject on our own time. So,
Yeah.
but anyway, okay,
Yeah.
continue.
Yeah, so that's like the classical clipping where it came from, but then now you have like clipping plugins that you use it for like distortion. And so like I don't know, for anyone who doesn't know, the way clipping works is like it's kind of like limiting, except like there's a threshold. You can think of it as having a threshold. And then anything above that threshold, instead of pushing it down the way you would with a limiter or a compressor, it literally just chops it off.
Yep.
Like with hard clipping, it's literally just a straight line. It's just gone. It
Yeah.
deletes it basically.
So if you push a sine wave into a clipper, it will turn it into a square wave
Exactly. Yeah.
because
And
it
that's what
just
the
gives it a
distortion-
haircut. You know?
Yeah. And then
Little scalp.
And then soft clipping is the same thing, except instead of a straight line, it's like a kind of like a rounded line. It's kind of like a compressor, how a compressor is to a limiter. Hard clipping is limiting. Soft clipping is compression.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
the
yeah.
analogs.
That's
to
kind of
that.
nice.
Yeah. Thank you.
Kind of
She-
nice. Kind of
Yeah.
nice.
But yeah, anyways, so I normally will clip my drums because I think clipping is a really nice way to get your sounds louder and still like preserve a lot of transients. So if you push your drums, for example, too hard into a limiter, it's gonna try and like preserve the peaks while also making them quieter, and it's just doing a lot more.
Yeah.
And that can cause like more distortion, and it's just complicated and it's difficult. And so if you push it too hard into a limiter, it's gonna be weird. But then with a clipper, I mean, it'll distort if you push it too hard into a clipper too, but it's not doing all that extra stuff. It's just chopping it off. And so you really preserve those peaks, I've found. And so it's great to clip on your drums in controlled amounts, unless you want to distort the crap out of your drums. Then just throw it on
Yeah.
and go crazy.
Yeah. Well, it sounds a little bit more like real life is what it does.
Yeah.
Like if you plug a guitar into an amplifier, you know, you got a tube amp, and you throw the guitar in there. The classic thing to do is you turn that fucking amp up like a motherfucker, and it's annoying. And then the guy behind the mixing desk is like, "Turn your amp down." It's like, get a fucking like speaker cabinet so I can put this thing in it so it stays quiet, but I can still turn it up because it doesn't sound as good if I turn the amp down.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
not getting
right.
clipped.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, like you want that shit to get clipped. You want
Right.
it to sound like we're all trying to make like there's the argument analog versus digital. Well, you can get an analog sound out of digital. Clipping is the answer to that thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it makes things more cohesive.
Right.
Because if you have your whole drum bus getting clipped a little bit, you know, maybe there's some techniques we can talk about. But
Yeah.
you get your whole drum bus getting clipped, everything is getting the same little saucy touch at the end.
Yeah.
And it makes it all sound like one thing instead of a fucking cowbell sample next to some random fucking,
Yeah.
you know, I'm trying to think of
Some horrible
an
sound.
actual reference, but I'm high.
Let's go. Dude, all
No, I'm
that,
not.
all that
Actually, I'm
incense
drunk.
coming your way.
Yeah, right?
You're high on
High
Nag
on-
Champa. Okay, so wait, that actually.
Very good.
Oh, no, go ahead.
Yeah. I think also when you're clipping your drum bus or clipping anything, I think it's important to also maintain some transients going into that clipping because the clipping will be chopping off the loudest things, basically. And so if you're already squashing your drums going into that, it's not going to have as much to clip in a more subtle way. You're either going to have to clip a ton or not at all, where if you still have a lot of transients, you can just clip off those peaks, and in my opinion, it sounds really nice.
Yeah.
And so I normally do that with my drums, and then recently I was like, what if I just clip my master and see how that goes? And it's
Let's go.
yeah. I was like, is that the secret to get it?
Clip the master, baby. Let's go.
Yeah. And
Break the rules.
yeah, and so I was like, and so when I'm saying clipping the master, I'm saying using a clipping plugin on the master and not
Just
making
shoving
sure
into
everything's
the...
going into the red and then bouncing the audio. I actually wouldn't recommend doing that.
Yeah, don't do that.
But that's the
quick
one
side
channel
note.
that you don't want going into the red.
Virtual Ride actually did that intentionally once.
Really?
I don't remember why, because I saw the video and I was
for
like,
sure.
yeah, he intentionally he
It's
went plus
dubstep,
16
baby.
into it, yeah,
matter.
and
Yeah.
just said yellow. Maybe that goes back to the 32-bit shit.
You could do it.
or
I mean,
whatever.
he
kind
do
of
it right.
He's
yeah,
super
do it
knowledgeable. I
right.
feel like-
He knew.
Yeah,
he knew what he was
probably
doing.
knew what he was doing. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm sure.
For sure.
Yeah,
Or not.
I've heard similar
Or
things
not.
about people.
Might have just sounded nice, you know?
Yeah,
If you do it and it sounds nice, then who gives a fuck?
If it sounds
Right.
good, it is
Game
good.
over.
Yep.
yeah.
Yep.
But yeah, and so that's the approach that I'm taking for like, all right, normally I'm scared to throw clipping onto my master, but then I was like, all right, let's just see how it sounds. Because conceptually, it would make sense, knowing how it behaves on my drums. If I did the same thing with my master, it could get everything louder, and as long as I'm not distorting it too much with the clipping, then it's going to sound good and louder. And then the limiter that I have after it isn't working as hard. So if I really want to, I could push it even harder into the limiter without getting distortion from that.
Mm-hmm.
And so it works. I think it works. It works in controlled amounts. You have to make sure you know what you're doing. I also noticed doing it with single band clipping is not great with
Here we go.
with sub bass.
Let's go.
Sub bass heavy stuff, because your sub, you don't want to clip your sub, because that's gonna be way more susceptible.
You want it to be round.
Yeah, exactly. You
don't
want
to
that
haircut your
fundamental
sub
to be really prominent.
Yeah.
And then that's going to distort the whole rest of the track because it's on the master. And so you can get multiband clipping plugins. I hadn't even heard of them.
Yeah.
I never thought I needed.
I mean, Saturn
them.
does it.
Saturn.
Oh no! Damn! I didn't have to get
There's
this
a
other
multiband.
plugin.
Melda.
Yeah, M Wave Shaper
Yeah.
multiband. That's the.
Melda has a wave shaper. That's a multiband one.
Yeah.
I was Googling it. I found there's one. It's like kind of a, I don't know. The plugin has some quirks to it.
That you're using.
But
Multiband, baby.
It's called K-Clip. Kazrog K-Clip 3.
K-Clip.
And that's what I was trying to use. Apparently, and one of the reasons I picked that one is because I found a video from what was his name? Dave Pisano or
Pensato.
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 Yeah,
Yeah.
he's like a Grammy award-winning
Yeah.
producer.
Come on the podcast, Dave.
Dude, he's the kind of
We
dude
want
who's
you
been
on the
mixing-
podcast.
Yeah. Oh, yeah,
and
we
bring us
talked
on
about-
yours.
Yeah.
We're there.
Yeah,
We're there, baby.
We'll teach you how to dubstep.
yeah.
We got you.
But yeah, he was walking through a
You would
YouTube
love
video
it.
I found where he was using that K-Clip plugin. So I was
Okay.
like, all right, if he's using it, it's probably safe for my master.
Yeah, he's using it on his pop music. I'll go for it.
Right.
Yeah.
Totally. And but it's so I think when you're clipping your master for loudness but also clarity, doing it in multiband with a multiband plugin like that, it's super important, because then you can basically bypass the sub, leave that alone, and then clip the other stuff that isn't as susceptible to audible or I don't know, unpleasant distortion. And then it just trims off those peaks in a more safe way, and then you throw it into your limiter. The limiter isn't working as hard, so that's not distorting stuff as much also. And bam, you got a loud ass track.
Yeah.
Got a loud ass track.
Yeah.
It's all
Yeah.
tight.
Yeah.
We've talked about it before, and I was telling you about this earlier. So grab yourself a multiband clipper, do it however you wanted to fucking do it. Get an M Wave shaper, put it in a multiband group. What do they call them in Ableton? Is it a group?
multiband. I don't.
I was
don't
reading
have a
his thing.
dedicated
Rack.
plugin.
Rack.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, you build yourself a multiband rack.
Yeah.
If you're in Bitwig like I am, obviously, then you just throw the multiband little thing on there, and then you throw it on your highs. And you choose the highs that you want. And then when you do, you pull the threshold on your clipper down to where it starts to touch the highs. It starts to touch them. And you're like, okay, now it's hitting the highs. Now, just drive that wave shaper or that clipper until it's cutting out the tops of all those highs off a little bit more. All of a sudden, same volume of high end, but they're all so much louder. You can usually push like 1,000 and up. You can usually push like 8 dB, 10 dB, 12 dB. Like you can really fucking smash on some high end
Before you actually start to hear it
Yeah.
fucking up.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
And it makes sense though, because saturation, distortion, clipping.
Like you can hard clip.
harmonics up.
You can
Yeah.
hard clip at that level. You know, soft
Yeah.
clip. If
push it
like
so hard.
maybe my mid range is going to get a little bit of a softer clip, and it's not going to be pushed as hard. And then the low end, we'll see. Maybe I want to clip it a little bit.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
every once in a while.
Yeah, you can still get
'Cause-
away with clipping the low end a little bit,
Yeah.
especially with soft clipping.
Yeah, whatever whatever you clip, when you clip especially if you're doing multiband clipping, you're doing an area, you clip it, it provides you new harmonics going upwards from that point based on the harmonics that you're clipping. So if you want to get a little bit more harmonics based on that section, like if it's a thing that you want to be accented a little bit more, you could clip it a little bit more and you'll hear it all the way up the frequency spectrum from that point.
Yeah.
You know?
So giving you guys a little tip from Restraint's Mind, the way he makes a lot of his basses, and I'm sure you do, and I'm sure you do, and I'm sure we all do at this point, is he'll play with like the first typically like 3 harmonics of his bass sound, up to like 5, up to 7, you know, but like the first 3 have the biggest impact.
Yeah.
And he'll take an EQ into his saturators and clippers and distortion units and whatever. And if you boost, let's say, the 3rd harmonic, it changes everything, like you were just saying, upwards based off the 3rd harmonic. Compared to like if you sweeped it over a little bit, go to the 2nd harmonic, you get a completely different tone.
Right.
And he uses that to his advantage, and Noisia uses that to advantage.
Totally. Yeah.
This legend here uses it.
Yeah.
Yep, of course.
Yeah. And that's also exactly why you want the multiband clipping on the master, because then you're going to be distorting those lower harmonics, and it's going to be affecting the rest of it in the same way where that you want it when you're designing a sick bass sound, but you don't want that when you're mastering.
Yeah, on the master, you got to be a little more just tender with all the little moments.
Yeah. Sound design is like you break all the rules in that stage, and but then mastering, it's definitely you want to be more careful.
Dude, yeah, that was the most freeing thing when I finally realized, like, in the sound design stage, it doesn't matter what the fuck you do with your EQ and peaks and valleys with distortion and whatever. Like, it's literally like free game. Anything goes. Because you're doing it's for the sake of the sound design. But then you got to put on your mixing cap and be like, okay, how do we actually make this work? How do we tighten it up, clean it up? How does it work in the master? How does it work with everything else? But yeah, that was the most freeing thing when I realized you could just send it as hard as you want in the sound design stage.
Same. I love that. I was like, I'm throwing reverbs on myself.
Oh, yeah.
I'm phasing everything. Like, let's see what happens.
Fuck it, right?
See all the weird stuff.
Yeah. I was fucking with a bass noise, which I ended up just using as like kind of the tops for a bass noise, and it'll probably get thrown in the garbage at the end of the day. But like, I have like multiple delays doing like basically Haas effect on it,
Nice,
like stacked and like reversed and shit. So it's just like it's like all phasing out crazy and shit.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll
It's
see.
probably a cool sound.
It's trying to be techno, so I'm trying to like make it toward that direction, you know. And it does do a good job of it. Although I don't know if it's gonna work. I'm not a little hazy on it though. But stack that shit. Why not?
Stack it.
I just saw Vapor Cruise's question.
Okay, so
about,
wait.
Oh, what?
Before we get to you, Vapor Cruise, I'm sorry. I've been holding a question in the bank before you asked it, and I want to just bring it up real fast. So what we were talking about, something brought it to my attention that like clipping, I think, is only possible digitally and analogically, right?
Okay.
Right. Do you think is it possible to clip like in real space? We were talking earlier about like a sub is like a 30-foot wave. If you pushed it hard enough in a tiny room, would it start to clip? Would it start to just like naturally?
That's an interesting thought.
I know, right? Yeah, fucking one of you like said something, and I thought about that, and I was like,
I mean, you have to add harmonics.
you have to add harmonics. Caleb, we want
Does
your
that
input
happen
on this
in the
also.
natural world? Do harmonics ever get added? I mean,
I don't know.
I feel like phase
no.
cancellation happens in the natural world,
Phase
and maybe
cancellation
in the
happens.
perfect situation, the cancellation will line up, and it'll. But no, it doesn't create new harmonics. It just stacks them.
Unless you find a way to clip it naturally.
Yeah.
Which, as far as I know, it doesn't exist. Did you hear the question, Dave?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. In theory, I feel like that makes sense, though.
Yeah.
Unless, is this something we can only literally do through technology? Is this some weird, fucked up, unnatural
Maybe.
thing we're actually doing with sound? Clipping it?
Here's a related question: can you do that with your voice? Do singers effectively clip their voice when they're singing a certain way opposed to other ways?
I would say no, because their vocal cords give out before they could do it. Our body just can't handle it. So the vocal
Yeah, I'm
cords are
trying to
like,
think of how you would clip in physical space.
right?
Yeah.
So we were saying if you take like just a sub and boost it loud as fuck in a tiny room, like would the room itself just start to like compress the waveform? Like would it just fucking
I mean, distance
I don't know.
distance will compress a signal, right?
Distance compresses a signal. Okay, so
yeah.
that's a
So
start.
a sound
Yeah.
that's coming from very far away will have a lot less high end, and
Less transient.
Dynamic
the
range.
low end carries better.
Yeah.
Low end
So it
carries.
kind of compresses it and
That's all volume and
pulls
EQ
like
stuff.
high end out. Yeah,
But if
that's
it compresses,
not really.
that's one step towards clipping.
It kind of is, but
It's a super soft clip.
Yeah. I mean, I get.
I don't know. I don't
Yeah,
know.
actually, that is a good. Maybe it is clipping because I was thinking that's effectively compression, but I think you are losing those frequencies.
Yeah,
But I don't know.
yeah.
Are those the loudest frequencies? Because that's what clipping is removing.
Yeah.
Caleb thinks he's answering the question. I think the clipping. I read it, Caleb, but I didn't understand. The clipping is it going past what the speaker can represent. The clipping is it going past what the speaker
so
can
he's
I mean,
saying
that's what
the speaker
clipping
can.
Yeah, a speaker can create clipping.
Yeah. So it's only possible through technology. It doesn't happen naturally. That's weird.
Yeah, that's
super
interesting.
Well,
weird.
it would happen with your voice.
You think it would?
Yeah. You yell.
A square wave yell.
A scream is kind of a clipped out.
We should
vocal,
test
right?
this.
I mean, yeah, you effectively have distortion in your voice.
Yeah. Yeah. Your
We-
voice is distorting in that situation.
Yeah. We should look at the
Interesting. Going
waveform
too
of like
loud.
a screamo vocalist. Like if we
Yeah.
could just get a dry sample, see if it's actually like
Right.
rounding off at the top a little bit. Because it wouldn't be. There's no way it's hard clipped. It's a very soft. Maybe we get a
Yeah.
little flat.
Yeah. I imagine it
We
would
need to
be
try
hard
this.
because you.
Oh
need,
yeah,
like,
no. If you like recorded someone screaming at the top of their lungs, a consistent scream, it would be flat. You know, because they're
Unless
only
it's
going to get
32
so
bit.
Yeah.
loud.
Right. Yeah.
There'll be a
It'll the max
transient perhaps
volume
at
that
some
they can-
point, but like there will be a maximum that they get to.
But do you
Yeah.
think like? So is it the throat then that's clipping the voice coming out at that point?
Yeah, I guess so.
Kinda.
Your vocal cords.
However
Arranging
vocal
themselves
cords
differently.
work,
Yeah.
Yeah.
somewhere in that area.
Yeah. The
So weird.
the
Okay.
analog clipper or the biological clipper. I don't know.
Yeah. Honestly, I
Bioclip.
mean, clipping is a thing that occurs naturally in the physical world, and then we've faked it in the computer in all reality. Like Caleb's saying, the speaker, or perhaps it's a transistor, or it's a whatever. It's like some piece of equipment that some audio is going through physically that goes beyond what it's capable of doing, and then it starts to fuck it up.
See, I don't.
Huh. Is your
Distorts.
voice clipping when you lose your voice and you try to talk?
Yeah. Right. Right.
Or are you just over compressed or over distorted? I don't know.
Yeah. Doesn't that make sense? I feel like I'm still not on board with clipping happens naturally.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not totally convinced.
Yeah.
We'd have to run some experiments.
We would have to. We should
I'm not
definitely
to-
run some.
I'm not totally
experiments.
convinced it matters at all,
It
to
doesn't.
be honest.
It doesn't. In the
But
long run, nothing
this is
matters.
the producer
but
lounge, so
Yeah.
we tackled the
We-
hard questions.
Let's go.
Like Vapor Cruise's question, which is
Yeah.
lost in the chat. Where is it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What
I
is
think
it?
That is a good point. They were worried about multiband clipping on the master, and they don't like to do multiband stuff. on
Oh,
the
there's
master.
phasing on
Yeah.
crossover.
Vapor
Yeah.
Cruise, thank you for your patience. I'm
That's a
sorry
great-
to
Yeah, so
derail
we're
you,
getting
but
back to it 20 minutes later.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I'm fine with using multiband on my master and on my buses. I think I always, whenever I'm bouncing to audio, I always use oversampling, which I think Caleb mentioned. So like that's gonna help with the audio quality, and that's one of the reasons why I like that Kazrog K-Clip 3 thing, because it has up to 32 times oversampling.
Hell yeah.
So that's a lot. And so that's going to help. There's probably still going to be some phase stuff caused by the cutoffs and the multibands. But I don't know. I find, in my experience, I feel like most modern plugins, like the high quality ones, they're like good enough that you don't really notice much of a difference.
So you're going to really notice phasing issues in the low end, right? That's kind of where the phasing hits you hard, unless there's like insane amounts of phasing happening in the high end. But like wherever that cutoff is or the crossover is between, I don't know, what do you think your crossover is like on the high end? Is it like 3K, 4K, or is it like 1 or 900 or something like that?
I think on the last time I was using it was around like 2,000 ish.
Okay.
There was like a middle band that cut off there, and I think everything else was above that. Yeah.
Really hard range to hear minute phasing things.
Yeah.
You know? Like you're phasing, if you had a crossover going at like 100, 800 or 80 or something like that, you could really fuck with because that low end, the big sweeping sine portion of your waveform is going to get destroyed if you have some kind of crossover happening down low. Yeah. But like up high, not such a big deal. The higher you go, the easier it is for the phase issues.
I usually don't, when I am doing multiband in like a mixing or mastering setting, I don't usually like to have a crossover any lower than like 200-ish.
Yeah.
That seems pretty safe.
I would do the same
in my experience.
Yeah.
But yeah, I definitely would avoid having a crossover at like 80 hertz or something like that. The oversampling wouldn't help with phasing. It would help with the full back distortion.
Vapor Cruise knows.
Same thing. Yeah.
Vapor Cruise got some fucking.
He's got some knowledge.
Got some skills.
He's got
some skills. He's actually asking the good questions over here.
Go.
Yeah, totally.
That's why you're here.
That's why you're here, Vapor Cruise.
We gotta have the outside knowledge coming in here. Fact check us once in a while.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I wouldn't worry about it too much. You don't need to do a lot of multiband on your master. If you did a bunch of it, probably you'd start to notice something. Like if you stack multiband like over and over, then you get a disperser essentially.
Yeah.
Or whatever that shit's called.
Exactly.
But yeah, one's not going to do much.
Yeah.
I think that's probably fine.
Yeah. Sometimes I'll use multiband compression on the master, but I'm just mindful of where the cutoffs are.
Yeah, I'll do a little multiband compression on the master. That's a common thing to do too.
Yeah.
Major mastering engineers do that all the time. It's like actually a staple in a lot of those guys.
Yeah.
Right.
But then like you said, I'll use that like once. I don't use that like 5 times throughout the mastering chain.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'll be fine with it.
Yeah.
Well, boys, we hit the mark.
We did.
Any last little gems you'd like to provide unto the people before we go?
I kind of want to
keep
share
going with the Vapor Crew. Oh, what's up?
I want to share one other thing that I noticed the other day.
Let's go. Let's do it.
Which I mentioned to you in the driveway too. But one really cool thing that you can use to double check, like has like a sanity check for mixing. Like one of the tracks that I was mixing down recently was
sanity check.
Yeah, actually though.
I love it.
My mix just wasn't sounding
right,
and I couldn't figure out why. And so I was like, it was the drum and bass song I'm working on. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna like throw in a Noisia song because I think they sound pristine, and see what's different with it. And instead of just comparing it with like a spectrum analyzer, I used Pro Q3 Fab Filter Pro Q3. They have They have an EQ match thing where basically you can feed in a sidechained song. It's not actually sidechaining anything. It's just feeding into the plugin. And then it reads the frequency response of that song, and then it applies the appropriate EQ to whatever you have the EQ on. I had it on my master for my song to make it sound like that reference song. Mm-hmm. And so that's another way to like visually see like what the heck where am I going wrong with my mix down? And it turns out it would just boosted the crap out of my high end. Everything from like 600 hertz up, it was just like a shelf basically, like boosting like 15 decibels. It was kind of insane. I didn't end up boosting it that much.
Yeah, 15 decibels.
Yeah, I was like,
is
all right, Fat
fucking
Filter,
so
that's a
up
lot.
there.
Yeah. But but that was like a nice aha moment of like, oh, I just need to do a shelf EQ and that's it. And it makes sense because I was trying to control my harshness in that mix. So I was bringing down the high end a lot, and so I just stopped doing that, and it sounded really good. It still kind of sounded kind of harsh, and so I did another trick that I like doing. You guys probably do this all the time. Is you take an EQ on your master or your whatever you're mixing, and then you take a bell EQ and then you boost it like 20 decibels, a lot, and then have like a relatively narrow Q, and then just cycle it through the different frequency range. Specifically, or the harshness tends to be from like I think like 2,000 to up to like 10,000 ish. I feel like that's a problem area, but just cycle it through there, and then wherever it just hurts your ears, it just sounds really bad. Pick that spot and then cut that area.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, and so and that's all I had to do after I boost everything a ton. Like all that time I was trying to control the harshness, I just had to cut like 8,000 hertz by like 4 decibels or something.
Right.
And it was fine after that.
Yeah.
So it was like, and I was bashing my head against that for a while.
Yeah.
And so like, I don't know. I think I want to put that out there to anyone else. Kind of in a weird place with their mixing. Just try using an EQ match or try using some other tool besides like a spectrum analyzer or something to compare to a reference track, because sometimes you need to look at it a different way.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
That trick, the old pretty thin bell, pushed up, boosted up,
I feel like that's a classic.
surfing around. It's a total classic. It is deceiving at sometimes.
Can be.
Like, it's really nice, especially nice in like a singular track setting where it's like, I got my hi-hats. Let me surf around and find the little frequencies that are kind of harsh. And then even at that, it could be a little deceiving because sometimes those little harsh ones are the ones that are poking through good, you know, in the track, and they make it sound loud. Whereas you pull them out and all of a sudden it kind of sounds like a little bit more muffled all of a sudden, because you get a lot of presence in those 2K to 6K area. We talk about the 4K thing a lot, where you pull down 4K a little. The 4K seems to kind of like, it's like almost like it muddies up the high end. It's weirdly like a nice spot to kind of pull down on and just test out, and then you can boost a little bit after it, and it'll all of a sudden sound a little bit more clear in a way. But yeah, you got to be careful with those like sweep around, just pull things out, because if you're not careful, you're just gonna pull a bunch of good shit out.
Yeah,
but
that's kind of what I was doing before the EQ match thing, and I was like, oh, I just need everything on the high end louder, and then just this one little part.
Take out that really sensitive
Oh, there
section.
you go.
Yeah,
there you go.
Yeah.
Which boosting in an EQ, here's a way I've there's it's been explained to me in sometimes is like, if you boost in an EQ, you're adding kind of like release on a synth. And if you dip, you're kind of like taking away decay, right? So you're adding ring by boosting, and you're pulling away ring by dipping.
Oh, I've never thought about that with the dipping.
So I try to dip if I can instead of boost.
Yeah.
So if I'm if I feel like I need more high end, I will usually pull down on a shelf on the low side of things rather than push up on a shelf on the high side of things. I don't know if that even is like, I'm not saying this is like fucking law or something. I don't actually have like a good proof of all this, but it's just the way I do it. I don't know.
I have heard people say, some people, at least a while ago, I don't know about anymore, but I used to see a lot of people saying never boost when you're mixing or mastering like that. I don't even remember what it is, but it causes some bad stuff to happen. But then I like kept looking into it, and I saw some like pretty prominent producers who have really good sound and stuff that say like, yeah, I boost stuff all the time, and it's like not a huge deal.
Yeah.
Like
Totally.
I think as long as you know what you're doing, I think that's what it all comes down to. And like if you're able to tell that it still sounds the way that you want it to sound, then it's not necessarily a hard and fast rule, I guess.
Yeah.
That's my philosophy. on it,
Definitely just do it if it sounds good.
Right.
Once again, always.
yeah.
Like I'm not saying I don't boost, but usually if I need it to be more, if there needs to be more high end in my tune than doing a low shelf, because I know all I need to do is push it into a limiter a little bit more hard, and I can get that high end to show up a little bit more clearly. Like I'll have an EQ, like a Q3 with a dynamic, like compressing down on my high end quite a bit, and then pull it up. I'll boost it up from there as well. So I compress it and push it up at the same time. And it's usually less up than it is compressed, but it still gives you a little bit more like presence in that. And then also I'll have like a low shelf happening, pushing down on the low end, and then pushing that into some sort of clipping or saturation or compression or something to bring that low end back in. Because like we were talking about earlier, that low end does not want to get saturated as hard as everything else does. So if you push down on the low end and then push it into clipping, then the low end still doesn't get clipped, because it's the loudest things that get clipped. So you can pull down on low end and then push into a clipper that way, and then your low end will come back up to 0, and then everything is still flat again. Which is like a tricky little balance to try and figure out.
It is.
No,
It's
right?
so fucking annoying.
I was just thinking about why
So hard.
I chose to boost instead of doing it what you're talking about.
Right.
And I think it's literally just being lazy, because your sub takes up more headroom than anything else. So like pushing the sub into the limiter an extra 2 decibels is going to be a lot harder for it to do than to push the high end an extra 2 decibels. And so in that song, I already had my sub in a plate hitting like where I wanted it to. And so I didn't want to fuck with it.
I don't know if it really makes much of a difference. Kind of feels like it's doing the same thing. If it's shelf up the highs or pull the lows down and then push into
I need to try it. I'm going to try it and see if it ends up being finicky.
I'm not honestly completely stuck to my idea on this.
Yeah.
We got
It's
some
just the way I've
either.
been doing it, you know? Which started, by the way, from Austin bringing up
the Subtronics thing. I know that's when this all started, huh?
It did.
Yeah.
It did.
What was that?
Great. I love that you remember that.
Subtronics would pull down his low end and then push into a clipper and then push his low end back up a little bit after.
On the master. Just hard.
Huh.
Yeah, shelf
On the
it.
master.
Oh,
Saturate
man,
the fuck out of the
actually-
mids and highs, and then bring it back. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
that's,
since that day.
kind of what I'm doing with the multiband
Yeah,
clipping, I
yeah,
guess.
you're just taking it and
yeah.
doing that with
Exactly.
it, basically.
Yeah. Yeah, man.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
Thank you, Subtronics. He sent us on a whole tangent
watching
a
this.
year ago. Yeah.
He knows.
Oh, yeah.
The people listening to the podcast are so bored. They're like, we've heard this so many times.
I know, right?
Can you guys talk about something besides clipping? No, you clip your shit.
Clip it.
All right, let's be done.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was a
Cool.
banger episode.
Yeah.
That was great. I mean, we had a little
yeah.
bit of a rusty start, but we made up for it with
Just
all the
making
knowledge.
our
we
way.
They don't
dropped
know
on
that.
it. Yeah. At
What
least,
what started talking about?
Yeah.
It was smooth, man.
It was
YouTube has no idea.
smooth.
yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
That's just the normal, normal start. There's like some applause. There's the
Thank you, everyone, for being here. Vapor Cruise, you're a goddamn legend.
Yeah.
We had a first timer in chat, 400 Janzen Rivv.
Oh yeah, he never is in chat.
Janzen Rivv.
Whoever that guy
Thank you for
is.
being here. You've
Yeah.
been,
I don't know what's going on there.
yeah.
Always400.com for all the links and the good stuff. Hit the like button, hit the notification button, hit the fucking sub.
All the stuff. Check out our TikTok.
Do all the things that drive more people to the videos and the things. We need more people to know about this. or else we're just talking to the wind.
Yeah.
So
Which is where
give
it all
us
began.
your word of mouth.
Anyway.
We do not put money into ads and bullshit because
Nah.
we're giving you actual good shit.
Yep. Slow burn, genuine flow method.
That's right. That's how it goes. That's how we do it.
Goodbye, everybody.